And joining us now here on the program as we continue our conversations with our friends at Brevant Seeds, we're getting a corn harvest update from Indiana. Brevant Seeds retail product agronomist Jonathan Howe joins us here on Market Talk. And Jonathan, great to have you with us here this week. Thanks for the time. I hope you're doing well.
Thank you, Jesse. I really appreciate the introduction, and I am glad to be here.
Well, Jonathan, thanks again. And let's dive in and talk about corn harvest. How are things looking in your territory there in Indiana? What was 2023 like for the corn acres in your region?
So it has been a different year. I'm located in Southwest Indiana, and much like the rest of the country, we had some variable weather events this year, whether that was heavy rains early, wind events mid-season, or just spotty, droughty areas. There was a lot of differences across the state, and throughout the season, that raised a lot of questions for how crops were going to do at the end of the year. Again, we keep an eye on that throughout the year, and we've had a lot of conversations. But coming to the end here, we're starting to see some harvest, starting to get some numbers back, and a lot of guys are pretty surprised with the numbers they're getting back. We have corn acres that are above average, mostly all the way from the river to the northern end of my territory, and we have exceptional soybean yields all across the Southwest Indiana portion.
I was just going to say, how is harvest looking? But it sounds like, through everything this growing season, harvest so far looking pretty good. How far along do you think harvest is in your area?
So I would say, which I'm located right around the Santa Claus, Lincoln City area, everything below me, we're looking at more than 50% done.
Okay.
Definitely hit that halfway mark last week. And I think most of the crops north of me are already knocking on that 40% door. We're getting closer to being halfway done up there. That being said, everybody's full bore on harvest. I know that big farmers have been going at it for a while, and now I think all hands are on deck across the southwest part of the state.
Well, Jonathan, are there one or two key takeaways you're already seeing from this harvest, or anything you'd want to mention to folks as kind of those key things that you're seeing right now?
I think one big thing that I've had a couple conversations with people about is making sure that you're prepared to have a little risk mitigation coming into the season. If you farm a large amount of acreage or it's spread across a decent portion of a county or even a state, you need to make sure that you have a couple different varieties out there that can handle different amounts of drought, different weather conditions, because a year like this year, you might get it all, and you want to make sure that you have all your bases covered. That's been really big for a few guys this year.
What about, yeah, I was going to say, go ahead. If you have another one, go ahead.
I think another one was just that whenever you're looking at your acres this year, maybe not everything is quite what it seems. We had a lot of corn this year that ended up pretty short, and that was mostly due to the fact that we had a drought this year, and also some talk about the cloud cover and the smoke we got from the Canada wildfires. It ended up producing some short corn this year, but just because it was short didn't mean it wasn't yielding. We still had a lot of that corn yield pretty good this year.
Fantastic. What about any stalk integrity issues? Is there any of that concern out here during this harvest season, maybe having to prioritize one field over another, Jonathan?
There was questions of stalk integrity, mostly through the northern end of my territory, and this was primarily related to a couple big wind events we had up there. Again, sometimes you have natural occurrences, such as 90-mile-an-hour winds that are knocking down barns, and we as humans can't avoid that kind of stuff. So we see it; it'll knock down some fields, and you hate to see it. But again, we have crop insurance, and luckily that the farmer network is so strong that we can keep those operations going. But overall, we've had some really good stands this year, even in some droughty ground, some windy areas. It's all been going pretty good, but definitely something we've noticed more this year because of all the wind events.
All right. Well, as farmers are busy with harvest, but they got to think about next year as well. If they have questions, I'm sure reaching out to their local retailer or online, Brevant.com, are all great ways to get connected and get started, aren't they, Jonathan?
Yes, most definitely. We've got reps across all of the northeast portion of the United States. So if you have any questions, we'd be happy to be there and help you out.
Fantastic. Brevant.com, a great place to start. With that, Jonathan Howe, retail product agronomist for Brevant Seeds in Indiana. Jonathan, thanks for the time this week. We'll talk to you again next week.
Awesome. Thank you, Jesse.